Today's gospel is a wonderful image for us to keep in mind. I think it's always helpful, and it can shed light into many experiences in our life. So we see that Jesus got into a boat. That's the first thing that we hear. And when we think of our lives, Jesus enters the boat that is our life at the very beginning when we're baptized. That's the beginning of our Christian life. It's also considered our Christian birthday. So Jesus enters our boat our whole life long. And whether we know it or not, whether we notice it or not, Jesus is in the boat of our lives our whole life long. Now, sometimes we can forget that Jesus is in our boat. Sometimes we can spend all our time talking to Jesus who's in our boat. But as you know, whenever you're in a boat, there's good times and there's bad times. There's calm. There's those beautiful moments where you can maybe think of a fishing experience where you're just sitting on the lake in a calm place. The Lord is there with us, just enjoying that closeness with us. And a lot of people say that they feel close to God in those moments in nature. And how appropriate, as today we're celebrating St. Irenaeus, a great father of the church. And he fought a lot of heresies, and one of them was that all of creation is evil and bad. Everything in creation is evil and bad. And sure enough, he sort of had to give everyone's head a shake and say, don't you remember Genesis? Every single day the Lord said, and this is good. He created X, Y, Z, and he said, it is good. And notice what he said when he created us. It is very good. So creation is very good. And so again, there are those moments where we are in creation, we see the beauty of the world and God's creation. In a way, it's God's footprints or fingerprints in our world to remind us that he is the creator and that he is close to us, again, whether it be in our boat or in our lives, wherever we are. There's also times in our life where we go about confidently because things are going well, and we forget that Jesus is in our boat. Why else do you think he fell asleep? No one was talking to him. He was by himself. And so there's times where when all is going well, we may forget about our faith, forget about God, and stop talking to Jesus, to stop praying, even stop practicing our faith. Many people have that experience. Maybe it's in adolescence, maybe it's in adulthood after a traumatic or a strong event in our life that maybe pushes us away from God, or we feel that it's God's fault. But Jesus is always in our boat, whether he's sitting right next to us, showing us how to fish, or teaching us something very important, or just enjoying to listen to us in our prayers. But there's also those times where maybe we ignore him and he falls asleep in our boat. But notice what happens with the disciples today, that as soon as the waves get strong, the wind gets strong, and they feel scared. Their boat is shaking. The boat of our lives can be shaking many times. And sure enough, that's when we flee to Jesus. We rush over and, in a way, how are you asleep now? I need you now. We're perishing. What a strong statement. We are perishing. Imagine how much the boat was shaking for them to say that we're dying. I can just see these waves coming in and this little guy throwing buckets of water out the side because they're afraid. They're afraid. And how does Jesus respond? Why are you afraid, you of little faith? Oh, what a striking comment. When you think about it, I am right next to you. Haven't you learned anything? Don't you remember when I walked on water? Don't you remember the multiplication of the loaves and the fish to feed 5,000? Don't you remember all the healings I've done? And I'm right here beside you. For us, that's to call us to remember all the beautiful moments that God has given us in our lives, the blessings, the miracles, the graces, those beautiful moments in prayer, whether it be at Mass or in private, that has touched our hearts. When he says, why are you afraid, you of little faith? He's saying, remember all the times that I've been with you, that I have saved you, that I've done things miraculous and beautiful for you in your life, whether it be from receiving wonderful parents or a family, or your own family, your spouse, good opportunities in a career or something like that. Just the opportunity to be in Canada, the blessings that come with that we take for granted, of not being in a war-torn country, not wondering what we're going to eat the next day, not wondering how come we don't have shelter or drinking water, things like that. He's saying, why are you afraid, you have little faith? And usually whenever there's a little bit of a wave in the boat of our life, we rush to the Lord. And so this is just a gentle reminder to say, Remember all the blessings that I have given you in my life. And notice how the disciples, when he does calm the sea, calm the storm, calm the wind, there is a great peace again in their hearts. And what are they left with? Wonder and awe. Wonder and awe at how Jesus, with a simple word, I imagine it just a gesture even, to be calm, that he can do anything. And so whenever we're faced with a really rocky boat or a heavy storm in our lives, we need to be reminded that this is God of all creation, Almighty God. He can do anything, the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning, the end, outside of time. At any moment, he can say, be calm, and all will be well. So let us leave today with great faith in our hearts, remembering the blessings that Jesus has given in our lives, and knowing that he is always there beside us in our boat of our life.